kind of wanted to go over a couple of the differences between the 92X Performance, which has been out for a couple of years from Beretta, and the new 92XI, which is kind of just hitting dealers. Obviously, I've done some slight changes to both of these guns. So the 92X Performance, let me grab my scale. 92X Performance was released a couple of years ago with a couple of different variants. This one is actually the 92X Performance CO version. You see it's got a dot on top of it. And I've done a couple of changes, obviously a red trigger, which doesn't change the functionality at all, but I like the red trigger. There are a bunch of different safety widths available for these pistols, and I run the mediums. Actually, I run a small on the right and a medium on the left. And I've put the Tony System dot, which is made for them by Seymour. This is functionally identical to the Seymour dot. It's a great dot. I've been really happy with it. Keeps zero, takes a beating. It's just a really good dot. The only issue that I've seen with these is the battery life is somewhat shorter than other dots. And I have seen a couple of people have issues with this little battery drawer. It makes it super easy to change batteries, but I've seen people that have had issues with it staying shut. I haven't on any of my dots. I have several, and I run the crap out of them, but that has been reported. So differences. The performance, and this gun is slightly different because I'm running the top end off of a 92X Performance Defensive because it's a little bit lighter and I like a little bit snappier slide. So this gun will weigh less than a full 92X Performance CO gun will. But to give you an idea, this gun is, with the dot, it's 44.5 ounces. So call it 46, maybe 47 with the correct slide on there. And the new XI is an alloy frame. It's basically the same frame with some accommodations made for the safeties. It's basically the same frame as like an M9A3 or A4, right? Alloy frame, railed frame, and different magwell. We'll go into that in a second. But this gun weighs 33, so this gun is a full 10 plus ounces, maybe 12 or 13 ounces lighter than the 92X Performance. That's the biggest difference off the bat. This gun does not use the Brigadier slide, so it is. Let's weigh the difference. So this slide with a dot is just under 20, and this slide with a dot is, and this is the light defensive slide. It's actually lighter. That's interesting. All right. So let's look at the other differences. Obviously, I've swapped in a double action trigger on this XI. It comes with their great, and I've done this mod to a couple of my 92Xs, their great flat face trigger. And I really like these triggers, both the double action and the single action. They have this kind of this serration, this striping across the surface of it. These are a little alloy trigger. They're not plastic. I've seen them called plastic. They are definitely metal. But they have this serration across the front, which makes grip awesome. Like, you don't slip off the trigger. Really good triggers. I'm pretty impressed with these guys. So it is a single action from the factory. It's an SAO gun. I've converted mine to double action just for fun to see if I could. It uses the lighter alloy frame based on the M9. A4 is the current version. And you can see the difference in the frames. There's one major difference up front, which is the included magwell on the 92X Performance, right? And the way they do that is they raise the 92X Performance grips up so that they have this, 1/4 inch of metal to build you a magwell on the pistol, right? And on this gun, They do not do that. So these are actually 92X performance grips. So you see they stop short. So usually there's that metal there that you can use to build an internal mag well. This has a little bit of flaring, but not nearly as much as the performance. And so it also has a different profile. You can see there. You can see there are these rails, I don't know what you'd call them, on the back, and you can see there's a gap back here because I'm using my 92X performance grips. These are Tony system grips. These are actually the Vibram. They have these little machined aluminum diamonds, which are super grippy. I really like this grip pattern. Anyway, cool grips. So that's the biggest difference, an alloy frame. The mag well on the performance is obviously different. So the performance is a steel frame, very heavy frame. They're both Vertex style, meaning they both have the flat back strap. And I've added these lock grips with the rear swell, and actually I run a right side swell as well for my strong hand. So these grips are obviously aftermarket. They're made from G10. So this frame assembly is much heavier, and you can see the profile. This is the traditional Beretta flat, front of the trigger guard profile, and this has the rounded profile. That's just a preference for you. I like the rounded profile, but it does not change how I shoot the gun. So big difference there. And then on this pistol, it ships with small safeties on both sides. You see it's much narrower there. I've swapped in the medium safety because I prefer the medium for my strong thumb. And that's about it. They have the same excellent Extreme S trigger group, which is a very good trigger group. And they have the same, everything else is basically very similar as far as components. They use the same sear. This XI uses a new hammer where they actually machine off the double action cocking pawl on the hammer, so it's kind of a flat hammer. I've swapped in the competition hammer because I really like the reset on the competition hammer. It makes a super short reset right there. It's the best upgrade to do to this gun, in my opinion. So I put the competition hammer in these guys, and honestly, obviously you could not go double action without swapping in that competition hammer because, like I said, the double action cocking pawls on this included hammer are machined off. That's really the major differences. Oh, the XI ships with I believe this is a 4.9, and the XI ships with a 4.7 inch barrel. And interestingly, in my experience, in my testing, that 4.7 is 50 to 100 feet per second slower than this 4.9 inch barrel. So I've swapped in the 4.9 inch barrel so I can use the same loads across all my guns. I don't think there are any other significant differences. The biggest ones being weight, the included magwell, and then obviously this one from the factory is SA only, which is cool. It's very 1911-ish. They both have an excellent trigger group, the same trigger group, the Extreme S trigger group, and both the same dot mounting system. You see I run the same dot on my guns. I run a 6 MOA. One other difference, and you can see it here. Can you see it? The beaver tail on the XI is shorter by probably 1/4 of an inch, right? So that can make a difference to a lot of people if you're running appendix and you're coming into the gun, or the way that they draw. I've got a good friend who's looking at this pistol because the beaver tail is actually much shorter, and this one is almost kind of sloped down. And now this grabs my hand really well, and I like how my hand sits in this gun for competition shooting, especially with this flared, or with this back strap, which is why I run this back strap, because now my hand just kind of sits up in there. But that is a significant difference for some people. So, last major difference that I can tell. Anyway, let me know if you have questions.